Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our first joint review. Today we are going to be talking about Paper Towns by John Green.
So my general feelings about this book going into it were really mixed because if you know anything about my reading, you may know that I have something very deep set against John Green, having never finished one of his books. So it's for my Pop Sugar Reading Challenge for the road trip portion, but also I just wanted to see if I would like a John Green book, which, surprise, I ended up giving it 3 stars overall. Mostly because while I liked the idea behind the book, I did not necessarily like the way that idea was executed, which you'll see as we get into talking more about the book. But still, for a John Green book, I was pleasantly surprised and amazed how much I liked it, even though that may just have been because this was like teenage national treasure and not because of anything John Green actually did.
For me, I also gave this book 3 stars, and I had known going into this that it was sort of a redo of his first novel, Looking for Alaska, which I had read previously. And I do have to say that I do like this book more than I liked Looking for Alaska. Looking for Alaska is a little bit shorter, and it's not terrible, but he does try and do the same thing in both of these books, which is to break down the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. And I'm not sure that he's successful even after the second attempt. He definitely didn't succeed in this first attempt, but even after the second, it wasn't completely there for me, which is why I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed it for the most part, but it was not astounding, amazing. It didn't break down tropes that I was expecting it to. It tried to, and you could see where it tried to, but it didn't fully succeed in that.
And I mean, I think part of that whole Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing, you can kind of see in how, like, generic the characters are in general. I think that Margot, our resident Manic Pixie Dream Girl, was interesting, but her amount of interestingness wasn't backed up by, like, Quentin, the main character, and his friends, who really did seem like, Quentin was the skinny nerd. His friends had weird quirks, but were otherwise quintessential, band geeks. And also, Quentin himself couldn't decide who he wanted to be, like, which archetype he wanted to be. Because, towards the end, he is this poet of some kind who spouts out off all these great metaphors. And, I just couldn't figure him out, and he honestly wasn't that engaging to me in any of his forms, so that was really hard. If the book is supposed to be all about, like, this destruction of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, you actually have to have characters that are interesting to do that. Just my opinion. I did find them funny. I did actually laugh out loud at parts of this book because he and his friends are kind of weird and quirky, but that wasn't enough to redeem the overall tone of the book.
For me, I had a lot of the similar feelings of Gretchen, that a lot of these characters were sort of cardboard cutouts of 90s teen comedies on TV, that they were characters that had been built and portrayed oftentimes, and then he just added in some funny character traits, and that was how he built his characters. They didn't seem entirely real to me. I would say that I appreciated the one popular girl who used to be Margot's friend, or was still Margot's friend by the end, who went along with them for a majority of this book, sort of having a redemption. That I appreciated and thought was different, although not entirely different because it has been happening a fair amount. I just feel like in a lot of contemporary novels like this, the bitchy character will stay bitchy throughout the book, whereas this was a bitchy character who was like, I'm not actually a bitch. Those other characters are, but I, am kind of funny and nerdy and stuff.
And I have to agree that I did really like Lacey. I kind of forgot about her because she doesn't really become a character that you get to enjoy until the road trip portion of the novel. And if you think that this is a road trip novel, it is not a road trip novel. So if this is the entirety of the book, this is the portion of it that is a road trip. And this is the portion in which Lacey is really cool. And I honestly really did enjoy the road trip, even if there was some really odd moments. But the plot overall, because of that, was really slow. I kept waiting for Quentin to go off on this crazy quest to find Margot, and the book was just like a whole bunch of false starts until that section that I just showed you, in between which he does a lot of, meditation on, well, I guess I really didn't know the real Margot, and, oh my god, I'm graduating high school, and as well as really, really vapid moments on his part where he's kind of a douchebag to his friends, which is never really redeemed. They discuss it, but it's never really redeemed at all. So the plot was not at all what I expected, even though I did, again, enjoy certain parts of it. The overall tone didn't really thrill me.
For me, I sort of enjoyed the premise of Margot leaving all of these clues behind, and then them having to figure it out before they could go on the road trip to find her. I feel like where it went flat was that in between each of the clues being found, it was just one nerdy boy ruminating on this girl that he has had a crush on forever and was his friend when he was little and became popular and was sort of out of his league at that point. And that, for me, wasn't fun. I complained to Gretchen about how I was tired of listening to nerdy boys talk about how they like the popular girls. Like, it is a really frustrating trope that I can't get behind. I don't like the way that it's always sort of like self-hate and like putting these girls up on a pedestal, very virgin suicide-esque. So it was a little uncomfortable for me up to that point. And yes, I agree. The road trip is probably the best part of the book. It's the funniest part of the book, although there are some weird, gross moments. It definitely is probably the highlight of this book, and I wish it had taken up more of the book instead of being such a rushed thing at the end.
So as usual, Michaela has a much better way of putting out my feelings than I do, because I'm just like, bleh, feelings upon this book. But one of the things that we've discussed about the Manic Pixie Dream Girl and how it kind of, the book failed to really deconstruct that throughout it is because there's a lot of telling without showing, in which a bunch of these characters say about Margot, like, I guess I never really knew the real her, or I guess I liked her clues more than I liked her, and they say that, and they say really smart things about that I would have really liked if I then believed the characters were actually going out and acting upon these supposed revelations that they had. Because even up until the end, and I don't want to spoil the end in case you still haven't read this book, like I hadn't until a couple of hours ago, but the ending, it was all the right ideas, all the right, like if you had written the plot in bullet points, it was all the right ideas, and I enjoyed that so much, but the actual execution of the writing and the characters through the writing, I just didn't believe it. Which I think is more disappointing than anything else, is to be like, you were so close, and you didn't make it. You just didn't do it. So that's, I think, probably one of the most frustrating things, because the ending, like I said, was everything I would have wanted if I would have believed it. But I didn't. So, sadness.
As our resident book and movie reviewer, I would like to talk about the film because I went to see it with my little sister when it came out. Paper Towns is actually a really great film, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the movie cuts out a lot of the bits that we didn't like. So there's none of that ruminating of the teenage boy. It's all of the finding the clues, going on the road trip, finding Margot. Those are the things that happen in the film. It's a lot quicker paced, and that makes it a lot more enjoyable. It doesn't have this weird, slow, I wish you would get along with it type of thing. I do feel, however, that the book was slightly better at deconstructing the Manic Pixie Dream Girl than the movie was, which is surprising because we didn't think that it did that. The movie, for me, is a reinforcement of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl in a lot of ways because of the way that the ending of the film is, which is different from the way the ending of the book is, and I'm not going to be specific because I don't want to spoil either of them for you. But if you go into the film thinking that it's going to be a deconstruction of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, it definitely is not. If you want that, I would recommend watching the film Ruby Sparks, which is a really great film that deconstructs the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Paper Towns is great if you want something entertaining and funny and like teenage romp. Nat Wolff was in it, and he always does a fantastic job. So if you would like to see it, I would recommend it as a lighthearted, like, evening film. But if you want something that's more in depth and deconstructs Manic Pixie Dream Girls, look somewhere else. Gretchen just said, watch Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Another deconstruction of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl done way better than this.
So we hope that you have enjoyed our first Betwixt the Books review. Michaela is much better at doing these on her own than I am, but, you know, I like doing things better when Michaela's involved anyways, so works out for me. If you have read the book and agree or disagree with any of our thoughts, please comment on the video or on our blogs, wherever you found this. And please, please, please get in a conversation with us, because we have our thoughts, but they're our thoughts, and we want to hear your thoughts and have conversation about thoughts, because it's books. And we all love books. If you did also happen to find this on our blogs, please, please, please go to the sidebar and vote in the poll on the side. We are deciding which 3-part series will be our next Nostalgia Junkie set of reviews, and we are deciding between the first 3 books of the So You Want to Be a Wizard series by Diane Duane and His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, and literally vote to save our book club. There's very heated opinions, and we need you. We need you. But anyways, yep, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.